All right, Martin Popoff here from the Contrarians, back again with another edition of Reliving Old Reviews is a Useless Tool of Confusion. That is a Pantera quote, of course, and it's this concept I've always been kind of fascinated with, looking back at old reviews and seeing if the writer got it right without much context to compare to. This is actually a part two one, and by part two, I mean we are looking at a review of an album that we've already talked about before, and this is a follow-up upon, you can go check it out. We reviewed a review that Chrissie Hynde from the Pretenders wrote back in 1974 of Kiss Kiss. And now this is another famous person writing a review of Kiss Kiss. This is Mick Farren, musician on his own, famous proto-punk from England, big personality, writer as well. So this is a review also, oddly enough, from the New Musical Express, just like the Chrissie Hynde one was. But this is from, it is about a month and a half earlier. So the Chrissie Hynde was March 20th, 1974. And this is February. Oh, no, it's later. Okay. So this is February 22nd, 1975. Well, that's odd. Okay. So this is from much later on. I don't know why he's reviewing Kiss Kiss, but maybe it'll come out in the wash here. I go in cold with these. Let's see what he has to say, and we shall discuss as we go. All right. Up until Max Bell gave us his reasoned defense of Kiss a couple of weeks ago, I had assumed they were simply an also-ran in the glitter stakes who had taken the S&M vampire makeup to the point of overkill and altogether missed the boat. After reading Max's piece, I made a serious attempt to bypass the Fright Mask cover portrait and take these people seriously as a potential great high-energy band of the 70s. I fear, however, that they are a long way from being the MC5. Yeah, all these critics, and Mick comes to this pretty honestly. He knows his old rock and roll, but constantly saying nothing lives up to MC5 is a journalist trope, and I don't particularly get it. I mean, if I heard these two albums at the same time, granted, I mean, Kiss is operating 5 years later than the MC5 sort of thing, so they should be better. But I would venture to say the Kiss album, MC5 has its other charms. They made 3 albums; they're all very different from each other. But yeah, Kiss has its charms as well. So okay. Kiss had made the error of thinking, by the way, I forgot to mention this in the Chrissie Hynde one, but I can still supply to you my Kiss at 50 book. MartinPopoff.com for all the books I've written. I got about 130 books, and the latest is the Judas Priest album by album. But yeah, Kiss at 50 is still available, as is Van Halen at 50, AC/DC at 50. Okay, so let's see. Kiss have made the error of thinking that energy generation in rock and roll is a matter of formula. They use the cliches that have been developed over the years by every high-energy band. Again, as I mentioned in the Chrissie Hynde, there aren't that many high-energy bands at this point, so it's not laden with cliches. There'd be more bands as we go on. I mean, heavy metal floods us with the new wave British heavy metal, floods us again with hair metal, and we've got many subgenres coming up all the time. So now you can say there's been a flood of things, but in 1974, I don't really think so. They seem to have a kind of ignorant faith that the rock audience is conditioned to a Pavlovian response to music after all this time, and will jump to the banal like a rat up a maze. Ring the bell and the dogs dribble, hit a power chord and the kids run out and buy your record. It is a logical idea for these jaded, decadent 70s, but fortunately, it isn't true quite yet, although it could provide the scenario for the next Bowie album. I don't know why he's bringing up Bowie, but he does make an interesting point there. I think back then you basically hit a power chord and the Pavlovian response was there every time. I mean, if you made a heavy album in the 70s, you would get noticed, more or less. And many of these albums did well. I mean, Kiss, like I say, it's weird here reading this review in early 75 or seeing it in The Enemy in early 75. And yeah, Kiss hasn't really made it until the Alive album kicks off. But certainly everybody was talking about them at the time. And yes, like I say, you made a heavy album, pre-1975, and it was a little bit of an event just for the purpose, just by being a heavy album, right? Okay, the greats of high energy like Townsend and Kramer used power chords, stop and searing runs to lash the audience to higher levels of ecstasy. It was an almost subconscious physical link that started a feedback ring between the musician and the listener that built to a greater and greater high. And of course, he's talking about Wayne Kramer and Pete Townsend. And yeah, this is, these are very early hard rockers, noisemakers. But, we're going back to 69, 70. We're going back to Kick Out the Jams and Live at Leeds, both 69. So he's going way back to ancient history to find all this stuff. I mean, forgetting the fact that, it would be better to be comparing Kiss to the many albums Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, Uriah Heep, and Deep Purple had at this point. We've got Montrose, Mountains Gone By, Cactuses Gone By, right? There's lots, there's enough to compare to that we don't need to be talking about Pete Townsend and Wayne Kramer at this time, right? Most of the great energy players knew how to form the circuit, but they couldn't isolate a formula behind it. Kiss have attempted to process all that has gone before and produce the feedback by an effort of logic, and it just doesn't work. The album might have been saved had their rhythm section been less tricky and more energetically oafish, but despite all their efforts, the outcome is simply plodding. Well, the fact of the matter is, these songs are plodding, but they're not tricky at all. And it is quite oafish, right? I mean, Kiss is fairly simple from the rhythm section end of it in the early days. The bass is a little busier than you might expect or might think. But the drumming was actually very, very simple in the day. And the songs were simple. They were mostly based around power chord structures rather than riffs, right? Okay, to make matters even worse, they don't seem to be singing about anything. It's hard to tell. The vocal sound is so compressed that the lyrics are almost unintelligible. I've never thought that about the Kiss album. I'll have to go check. And it's funny hearing someone, talk about use the word compressed back in 1975. But just to confirm for Mick, yeah, they aren't really singing about anything. You are right about that. I sincerely hope Kiss aren't the high energy band of the 70s, although if they are, I could explain why the planet is so low on fun. Well, Kiss actually provides a lot of fun. They did go on to become one of the massive high energy bands of the 70s. So unfortunately, your hopes were dashed here. Yeah, they became a big deal. Why the planet is so low on fun, like I say, I mean, they were a really fun band kind of thing. But yeah, kind of interesting. And again, putting them down, kind of like the Chrissie Hynde one. So it confirms the narrative that we kind of knew anyways, that the critics weren't particularly fine on, they weren't big lovers of Kiss. So there you go. Please like and subscribe if you did like this. If you like the review from Mick or my review, give us your comment in the comments. And like I said, you can join our Patreon situation. We have merch as well. But the Patreon gets you onto our panels, or if you want to go on panels, Marco sends out a really nice, shopping list of what the panels are going to be out. You can sign up for the panels if you want. And there you go. Go play some Kiss.